All right. Getting off the rails here. This week, IGN updated its top 25 PS4 games list.
Sure did.
You got U2. Oh, nope, that's not the right image.
The winner my God, who is that?
That elf with a gun.
You know.
And the number one PS4 game was Shadowrun for Xbox 360.
Elf gun.
I thought that's
64.
what that was. I don't know where that came from.
We'll get there eventually. There we go. Just cycle it
All
through.
right, there we go.
Anyway, top 25 PS4 games. There's some big changes because
Yeah.
this is coming off the first big holiday season for the PS4, right?
Yeah, and
is that
there's
true?
just a lot
When
more
was
time
it?
has passed since we did the first list. So
Wanted to make sure we got games like, all the big fall stuff that came out that deserves a place on the list.
Yeah, for sure. So new games to the list include The Evil Within. Just made it
Snuck on.
just stuck on there. Yep.
What, 25?
Number,
Yeah, 25.
number 25.
Yep.
It's on there. And the newly released Grim Fandango Remastered.
Yep.
It's on there too. We're at 24.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Right behind it.
Still need to play that one.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I mean, if you haven't played the original, you're definitely missing something pretty special and kooky.
Probably use a guide these days. The puzzles are from a different era.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't include the hint system like the Monkey Island special editions did.
No, so it's not
it's-
remastered in that way. It's still very much the from the era that it was created in.
You know, it was incredible in the time, but times have changed, and it's
Yeah.
a fantastic story, fantastic mood, atmosphere, all
Great
the rest
universe
of it.
that that was built there.
Yep.
But yeah, totally. Those mechanics of how to solve puzzles are a little dated now.
Yeah.
But,
And The Wolf Among Us is added to the list.
yep.
And I still haven't finished the last episode of that.
Do it.
The
Get around
end.
to it. Get around to it.
Is The Walking Dead on there too?
No, Walking Dead is not on there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No,
Wow.
it's not a requirement
Scandalous.
that there's only one Telltale game on a top 25 list. Like, we can do whatever we want. It could be all Telltale games, but
Whatever we want.
we did sort of think that Wolf, I don't know, it's got sort of a special thing going on, and we wanted it on there.
Yeah, it's really
Sure.
good.
Yeah, it's kind of a singular creation.
We swapped out Call of Duty Ghosts for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, to be honest, the list of top 25 PS4 games. Not that Ghost is a terrible game or not, worthy of anyone's time by any means. But of course, when you have a smaller pool of games get on there that maybe aren't necessarily all stellar games.
Sure.
So whereas you look at the PS3 list or the Xbox 360 list, those systems have been around for years and years and years. So their top 25 reads like a best games of the generation list. Whereas an early life for a new console is there's less to pick from. So definitely we felt that was ripe to come off and for Advanced Warfare to go on.
We do these lists. We used to do them every year. We're starting to do them every 6 months now because they're so important. And those first couple iterations of each console's list are an opportunity for some games to sort of sneak on that will get pushed off as more and more 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 games come out.
Yeah. I was happy to see Far Cry 4.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
The game is awesome.
Love that game.
And Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, of course.
What did we? I already forgotten. I worked on the list. How high? I know we put it really
Middle-earth
high.
is
Mordor
number
is 5.
5. Yeah,
Yeah,
Number
Mordor's
5. Yeah,
Wow.
it's really, really
Mordor made it
good.
on 5. And why not, right? I mean, that was.
Mordor it didn't win our Game of the Year. Dragon Age did, but
narrowly missed.
But exactly,
Mordor.
Mordor was very close. Everyone universally loves it.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see where they go with that series.
And a really exciting forward step in how you structure open world action games in a way that's interesting.
Forward step giving orcs accents.
Yep, there you go. There's that too.
We added Grand Theft Auto 5,
Uh-huh.
unsurprisingly.
Yeah, well, it's funny you said that because there was some debate about that. Not so much because we don't think the game itself is worthy, but, it's always tough to say, to kind of parse through, well, hey, this was a game from technically last generation, and it's just...
We spent a lot of time talking about this, actually. Like, sometimes people, Last of Us is still on there, Grim Fandango is on there, GTA is on there, and that's something that was a problem some people had with our list, was, it's just a bunch of old games that got ported, so of course they're, going to be on this list. But the rule that we actually set, we talked about it a lot, was if it's a straight port from last generation or earlier, you're not worthy to be on this list. Like, work had to go into, improving or remaking or remixing or changing some element of the game if it's an older game being ported to next gen.
Yeah.
So,
and by older we mean like before last. What did we say? The last year?
I don't remember the exact cutoff.
Yeah.
We wrote it all down, what the specific criteria is. So that's how stuff like Last of Us and Grim Fandango and GTA, they put a substantive amount of effort into updating those games for the new console, and so we decided that they were eligible to be on the list.
Oh, got it. Okay, so like remaking a game the way they did Last of Us, because they didn't really add a ton of stuff to The Last of Us.
Right, but it was
60 FPS,
Yeah.
which is a super significant change, and
Sure.
1080p is a pretty significant change.
And they bundled in the DLC and
like
stuff
a better
that.
example is something like
Tomb Raider Definitive Edition.
Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, or the Nintendo has a lot of good examples with stuff
Sure.
like Mario
I was
Galaxy.
surprised to see so many Nintendo games on the PS4
Well,
list.
so Mario Galaxy is not eligible to be on the top Wii U games, even though it's on the eShop. Because otherwise you'd have not Ocarina of Time, like Link to the Past would be the #1 game on every Nintendo
But
console.
Wind
Mega Man
Waker
2.
is, because Wind Waker
Wind
had
Waker
overhauled
is.
graphics.
Sure,
and
exactly.
They redid the Triforce Quest. Yeah, okay. That makes perfect sense.
But what about Minecraft? We added that to the list. Is there what new was added to Minecraft?
I mean, it's just what do you mean? Like it's not a port of an older game. It's just Minecraft. Like,
I guess I think of it as an older game now, but maybe that's
Yeah,
just
it's
my
funny
perception of it.
because it was in beta for so long, right?
Yeah.
So it's lived in our consciousness for a long time. But also, you got to think about it coming to consoles is still relatively new. I think
Yeah.
it came out on the first console edition was the 360
for
edition,
sure,
right?
yeah.
And that was only a year and a
I mean,
half.
Minecraft
ago?
is still being updated, I guess.
Yeah.
So it came out and we reviewed it, and we put our stamp on it. But then it's sort of like that game is still receiving new content and new patches and new updates and new elements are continually being added to Minecraft. Like it's a game that's still alive and thriving. So I feel like it's kind of a different case in a game like, we put Limbo on PS4, and yeah, Limbo's incredible, but it's the same game. We already gave it its accolades.
I think a lot of
so.
people look at these lists, or a lot of people like us or hardcore gamers on IGN look at these lists and they're just like, half the best PS4 games are ports or last gen or something like that.
Yeah.
But there is a significant amount of people that look at this list for the reader service of like, I just bought a PS4, it's my first console ever. What should I play? Like they don't care that something was old somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just like if I wrote a list about the 25 best movies on Netflix, you couldn't be like, well, that used to be on VHS. That's where I used to watch it. It's like, who cares? No, like
It's not the 25 most PlayStation-y games on PlayStation 4.
Right, and that's
Totally.
why there was also I saw a strange criticism
read that list.
again, just like I never think about ESRB readings, I never think about platform. Like there's a lot of criticism about it being all multi-platform games. Like you didn't really highlight the PlayStation exclusives. I could have played these games anywhere, and I thought that was an interesting. Like it never even like a good game is a good game to me.
Yeah.
I don't even think about like platform lines very often because
It's
I
also-
own them all. So
Right. It's also not a list that says, hey, these are the top 25 games to make your Xbox-loving friends jealous.
I like how Tom
Yeah.
put it. Like they're not the PlayStation-iest games; they're the best games.
I said
Vince said
you
that.
said that,
Yeah,
my bad.
and I told him he should write that list. So good luck with that, guys.
We do. I mean, not to get too super nerdy, but like we talk about this a
It's a
lot.
video game talk show.
Yeah.
But like we
If
If you
spent
could be a fly on the wall for these, like if anyone has any questions about how nerdy or passionate we are,
or
about
how much
games,
time. Like
how
they
much
think
time
that
we
these
put
lists
in.
just get like pooped out, but like you go around and around and around. Like, should it be the list of the 25 best games, or should it be like a buyer's guide, like a list of the 25 games you should play now? Because like last gen, do we reward Call of Duty 4 for its excellence, even though we wouldn't really recommend someone check out the multiplayer now, like it's old and busted and kind of dead?
Right.
Or is it a recognition of excellence? Is it meant to be like a buyer's guide, or like rewarding them for their good work? Like we spend a lot of time talking about stuff like that.
Yeah, and we end up landing on if someone just got a PlayStation 4 and they wanted to know the best 25 games that they can play on it right now, like that's the purpose of the list.
And I mean, I kind of know the answer to this, but let me ask you for the posterity of the audience. Like, what factor does diversity play in terms of like genre and not ethnicity? Because I mean, I don't know what Rayman is.
We use affirmative action, so
Yeah,
20% of the list needs to be action RPGs.
Got it, got it.
First-person shooters.
yeah. Like, do you go like, oh man, we got this list together, but there's really there's no racing identification here. There's no like fighting here. You know?
No,
No.
it's
None,
really just
probably.
about
Yeah. Interesting.
It's really just about what the 25 best games are to play on the.
We
the
also
system.
we cover off on that with the panelists that are on each group. Like we think really hard about. It's not everyone at IGN determining each list. Like
Yeah.
it was. I think we have 5 or 6 people split up into all the teams for each platform. So there's a Wii team and a PS4 team and a 3DS team. and then those groups get together. And when we form those groups, we try to make them really diverse. So we include people from the UK and Australian offices who play a lot of racing games and some of the stuff that like maybe I'm not as personally into. Some people, I try to make sure, let's make sure this team has someone that really cares and knows about indie games and can make sure that they're speaking up and talking about that. So there's no quota of like, we have to get racing games on this list. We just try to get a diverse group together, and then it sort of sorts itself out.
Cool. We inserted last year's Game of the Year, Dragon Age Inquisition, right in number 2, right behind Last of Us Remastered.
That's right.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
I played it on Xbox One, but my understanding is that the PS4 version is great.
Yeah, that's the version I played it for review, and also excellent in all the same ways.
It really got me back into the RPG genre. I've been away from it for years. I mean, I played Skyrim, but like a little bit more RPG, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Yes.
So then it led me down, like I used to be really hardcore in the genre, got away from it. Dragon Age pulled me back in, and now I'm back into like Baldur's Gate. I'm playing a little Divinity.
Cool. I love Divinity.
So I highly recommend, even if you're not a gamer that this is normally your kind of thing, give it a shot. I think you might be pleasantly surprised with how sort of fast-paced the combat is, but still deep. Game, I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and the funny thing is, and I've said this to people, especially after Dragon Age 2, I went into Inquisition with I don't want to say low expectations, because that would imply that
Sure, have an open mind.
but an open mind, but I was fully like dreading but kind of preparing and bracing myself for the idea that this was going to be another kind of super streamlined, super dumbed down RPG, I guess for the masses or whatever. That wasn't going to really interest me as someone who comes from the Baldur's Gate, or going back before that, the Ultima, original, Dragon Warrior stuff. I didn't think it was going to satisfy me at all, and I was completely wrong. Like, yes, it is more accessible in ways, and yes, it is more immediate in terms of its reward and how the combat feels. But certainly, for like an old school like RPG person who loves all their having to cross their T's and dot their I's and know their stats and look at their party compositions and care about their gear and what they're doing with all their slots, like definitely holds up on all those levels, which is really impressive.
Yep.
So that's 9 new games added to the list.
Yes.
That means 9 games couldn't stay. It's not the top 34 PS4 games.
I got you.
It's not Matt's scoop.
Nope. Definitely not. So some games had to get out of here. Dead Nation was one of them. The Apocalypse Edition.
Which it made me kind of sad, only because I do love Housemarque's work, and I think that they are the masters of their particular trade. But it's just we had this is the conversation we had over and over again. It's like when you start looking at this broader range of games since the PS4 has been out longer, you start having to say things like, "Is this game great? Yes." But is that good enough to be on the list with these 25 other games?
Yeah.
Maybe not, and Dead Nation was one of those games.
That's what the conversation becomes, is there's always someone that loves the game and doesn't want to see it cut. And then you have to say, look, we know this game is great, but it's not better than these other games that we know we need to make room for and include.
Sure.
Yeah, there were so many times when a game would be up to be cut, and the one person in the room who was like, super like champion-y about that game. Like for me, Dead Nation, I was the one on Dead Nation who was like, oh, I don't know, guys, I don't think I want this one to fall off. Every time the person would like wax poetic about it does this and it does that and it's so this, and everyone would stop and be like, you're absolutely right. Yeah. But what do you take off?
It's not better than Transistor. It's not better than Far Cry.
And then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And you realize, well, if I can't take anything off for it, then
yeah, we say this a lot. Like the comment section on these things are always a war zone, and it's incredible to watch. But like we have that in the office when we get together to do these lists. Like it's that heated, it's that passionate, it's that exciting, and
I'm probably a little nicer about it.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, and at the end of the day, it's still just an opinion. Like if someone else says, I would have put these games on there, and I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Because it's not just a ranked list of IGN review scores, right? There's something. It's a little deeper than that, and that's what I appreciate about them.
We also, I stand by our reviews. I think they're an incredible tool. I use them all the time, just personally to help me inform my buying decisions. But opinions can rise or fall over time, and sometimes you get some separation between a game, and you realize, man, I liked it a lot more than that score I gave it. Or sometimes your opinion can drop, and so top 25 lists are an opportunity to sort of make some adjustments there.
Injustice, Gods Among Us, did not make the cut this time.
No, it didn't. I mean, that's a game that I thought was a great fighting game. I reviewed that for us. But again, it's one of those games where is it an essential experience on PS4? Probably not. It's definitely a solid, more than solid brawler. But it being on PS4 honestly didn't do that much for it, except for bundling all the DLC.
Yeah,
we'll see what MKX can do.
Yeah,
absolutely. MKX, I suspect will be in the running to be on that list when it comes out. But of course, who knows? I haven't played that much of it yet. But there's another example of a great game, solid all around. But we couldn't name a game on the list as it exists now that we would have bumped for it.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, cut from the list.
Yep.
It's
if there's no comment, it's fine. I just want to point out what didn't make the list.
I mean, obviously, Phantom Pain.
that will
all hotly anticipated. Very much looking forward to it. So we'll see. We'll see what it can
Ground
do.
Zeroes was kind of a demo teaser.
It's very divisive.
Appetizer for Phantom Pain.
Sure, there's the argument you can make, and I don't know if I would necessarily make it, but there's the argument you can make that it's kind of like you said, it's an hors d'oeuvre, or it's kind of like a.
It's kind of unprecedented to just release that before a game comes out. There's never been anything quite like it.
Yeah, no, there hasn't. Where it's kind of like a demo or prologue that you're paying, that you're charging money for.
Yeah. But it's pretty meaty, and I don't know. It's an interesting product from just a business standpoint.
Sure, absolutely, and both because of that and because of the nature of some of its content, I think there's kind of a divisive feel about it. So it makes. I think Lucy's review was awesome, and I agree with 95% of the things that she had to say in it. But again, like you said, it's more than just the review score, what one person thought. You get that community of people and talking about it, and it's such a divisive game that people have varying feelings on. It's almost impossible to avoid it slipping off.
I think again, not a bad product at all, great product, but easy cut candidate in the face of things like Far Cry and Dragon Age and Mordor.
Madden NFL 15.
Yeah,
Which I guess just came out last summer.
Yeah,
Got good reviews.
Yeah, sure. It's solid reviews. One of the better current gen, sports titles. But I think there were other sports titles that probably could have made it on before that. Now that like Pro Evolution Soccer, which didn't make it on the list ultimately.
We talked about it.
Yeah, we did talk about it. Pro Evolution Soccer was so incredible this year.
It was like a bubble game. Like if it was a list of 26 games, it might have snuck on.
Yeah, it might have snuck on there, absolutely. And so it's like if Madden wasn't even the best sports game in the group, then we couldn't really justify it being there.
Yeah.
And Wolfenstein might have been 26, actually.
Yeah, Wolfenstein was heavily discussed.
Mercenary Kings, which I get. I like that game, but not a top 25 game for me, probably. Killzone Shadowfall, which was a launch game.
That one's a little bit more controversial. Some people love it, some people don't, and that's really more of a reflection of the panelists changing, I guess. Which we do our best to be consistent and kind of honor the thoughts of people that came before. But it is ultimately the opinion of the 5 or 6 people making the list, and when those 5 or 6 people change, sometimes sort of the winds can blow in a different direction. I personally thought Shadowfall was competent. Like, you got a new console, you're looking for a pretty fun new game to play. Can't go wrong with Killzone. I don't really consider it having any staying power, being, a pillar of that game's library.
I don't think you could have possibly put that better.
Thanks, man.
100%. That's exactly how I feel about that game. It was a great show horse when that system first came out, and it's just, the PS4 is alive and living with a great library now, and I think that this list showcases that, and I don't think that really had a place on it.
As we mentioned before, Call of Duty Ghosts was dropped for Advanced Warfare. The final 2 left off the list were Lego, Marvel Superheroes, and Metro Redux, which was just a repackaging of last-gen games, which are good. But
those were both, I don't remember exactly what happened in the room. I think those were the last 2 to be cut. And I think people really wanted to keep them around, but it's kind of like, again, it's not a judgment against them, but it's just as the console's library continues to evolve and get better and better. If it were a list of top 30, 5 more great games would sneak on there. But as it is, it's not, and they just draw the line.
There's a lot. I find the list fascinating these days because there's a lot more competition within them. Years ago, we used to delineate very differently. We would say downloadable games or indie games or smaller games and games like that would get their own lists, like the top 25 best downloadable games on PS4. All those games are downloadable now. So now you see games like Shadow of Mordor competing with games like Fez and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful to see something like Lego Marvel or Wolfenstein cut to make room for something like Velocity 2X or Transistor. Although obviously I like those games more, or they wouldn't be in the top 25. But it does speak to that problem of room, like you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, our top 25 PS4 games is up now on IGN. We will revisit that list again in September.
Yeah, every 6 months now. And the rest of the top 25s are rolling out. By the time people watch this, there'll be another one. We're rolling out 2 or 3 of these lists a week for the next couple weeks.
Cool.